Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I have a very special role today to say thank you to everyone for coming and also being here online in the stream, and saying thank you for the organizers, for Upscale Tech Community team and KPMG marketing team. Also for the speakers who are here. So let me just introduce Zoltán László, who will be our first speaker, and Árpád Csöke, who will be the second speaker. Zoltán represents Upscale, and Árpád is from AWS, Amazon Web Services. And also my role today to introduce Upscale before I move forward. So if you don't mind, this is a very special occasion because this is the last time when we will introduce Upscale with a short video because we are just upgrading it. And this is a 4 minutes video, and I think it will tell a lot about us. So if you don't mind, we will just play this video now, and then I will continue to say thank you for the panelists who will be after the break, after the second speech. Now, I just press the space button. Thank you very much. So this movie was made 2 years ago. So our team grew approximately, basically double the size of the team. So we have 54 employees, 54 employees right now. And we are glad that we have some colleagues here who help us to upgrade the video. And continuing the introduction and saying thank you, let me say thank you to Arpad, Tasnad, and Peter for being the panelists today, and also Sándor, who will facilitate the panel discussion, which will be had after the break, because our plan, and this is the agenda, we will start with a presentation of Zoltán. It will take approximately 20 minutes, and then we will continue about the multi-cloud with Arpad, who will also talk about the multi-cloud from AWS perspective. And then we will have a short break, maybe 10 minutes or something like that, for just to use the washroom, which are there. And then we will continue with the panel conversation. So let me just give the word to Zoltán and ask him to start the presentation. Thank you very much.
Sorry, just a short technical break. To change my screen share settings. Is it okay? Okay. So, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm here to speak briefly about multi and hybrid cloud solutions with a serverless focus. I will approach this topic from a developer's point of view, since I'm a developer. However, I will try to highlight business values as well. Let's see our topics. First, I want to discuss these multi and hybrid cloud terms and the pros and cons to get brief introduction to this topic. Next, I want to emphasize the serverless approach. Finally, I want to give you some ideas about the possible solutions for forming a multi or hybrid cloud environment. So let's make it clear what is what. We might have heard these fancy buzzwords, but we often misunderstood them. So let's check it. The public cloud is the most understandable. Public cloud is a computing environment in which resources such as computing power, storage, and applications are provided and delivered over the internet by third-party providers to multiple organizations or the general public. These resources are shared among users and are available on a pay-as-you-go or subscription basis. Some of the most well-known public cloud providers include Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud platform. Multicloud is as simple as it sounds. This means we rely on multiple cloud providers, spreading our resources among them. Private cloud or on-premises, this could be misleading. This means our IT services runs on our dedicated private hardware. We do not necessarily own the hardware, but it should be dedicated to us. However, this could be hosted internally within a company facility. This is when we talk about on-premises, or it can be hosted externally at a hosting facility. Hybrid cloud is a kind of multi-cloud, more or less, but this interconnects our private cloud with the public cloud. It has many similarities with the multi-cloud setup, but this term is dedicated to the private infrastructure and the public cloud connection. The main question is, why should we care about these? Why should we work with a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud setup? It has many advantages, like risk mitigation, backupping, or redundancy in general. By spreading resources and applications across multiple cloud providers, organization can reduce the risk of service disruption due to outages in one provider. It's a form of diversifying dependencies to ensure business continuity. I remember when AWS once had some downtime in their DNS service or something, and almost half of the web was gone for a while. A similar situation is quite unpleasant, but we can prepare our infrastructure for similar problems by building a multi-cloud solution. Cost optimization is another big plus. Cloud providers have different pricing models for their services. Even the price of services of the same type and parameters may differ from service provider to service provider. Let's say virtual machines. The cost of similar virtual machines may vary, or the same goes for storage. So our goal would be to use a service from the service provider that offers it at the lowest price. Trivial, isn't it? Multi-cloud may also allow us to avoid vendor lock-in. Relying on a single cloud provider can lead to vendor lock-in, where an organization becomes overly dependent on a specific provider's tools, technologies, and pricing models. A multi-cloud approach ensures flexibility and the freedom to switch providers or diversify based on evolving needs. Moreover, using multiple cloud providers can give organizations better leverage when negotiating prices or service level agreements. Performance optimization could be another goal. This usually is not as important, but different cloud providers may have data centers closer to certain user groups or regions. Organizations can achieve better performance and reduce latency by deploying applications in a cloud region closer to the end user. Last but not least, different cloud providers might be better suited for different types of workloads. For instance, one provider might excel in machine learning and AI services, while another might offer better solutions for high-performance computing. Let's talk about hybrid cloud. Cost optimization plays an important role here as well, but for a different reason. Businesses can run their regular workloads on the cost-efficient private cloud by bursting into the public cloud during peak demand, which can be more economical than scaling private infrastructure or renting peak capacity all year round. Organizations can differentiate their workloads based on spikiness. Spiky workloads can be scheduled to the public cloud, while the others are on the private cloud. Flexibility, security, and regulatory compliance are the primary purposes of a hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud allows organizations to leverage the best private and public clouds. They can deploy sensitive applications on the private cloud by leveraging the vast resources of public clouds for other tasks. With a hybrid model, hybrid cloud offers a solution for industries with strengthened data protection and residency requirements. They can store sensitive data within their private cloud or a specific region in the public cloud, while still benefiting from public cloud resources. In my experience, regulatory compliance was the primary motivation behind the hybrid cloud setup. However, I mainly worked on banking software. Risk mitigation, backup, and redundancy also come up here too. No matter whether the private or private cloud fails, the other one could replace it whenever one or the other goes down. Also, as my experience from banking, government regulation requires exit strategies for risk mitigation, so some institutions have to deal with this with a hybrid or multi-cloud approach to avoid excessive exposure to service providers. And the last big reason for hybrid cloud is legacy system integration. I think this is the most common. Many organizations still run legacy applications that might not be suited for the public cloud due to technical or regulatory reasons. Hybrid cloud approach allows these legacy applications to remain on-premises or in a private cloud while still interacting with applications in the public cloud. All of these are excellent enhancements over a simple public cloud-only setup, so everybody should go with one or the other, right? Not so fast. All of these have enormous difficulties. Cost optimization, for example, does not come out of the box. We have to deal with the cost monitoring and our spending rules. Nothing can tell us when we should our cloud provider A or B, or when we should use our public or private cloud. Cost management is also complex because we have no tool for managing the budgets of more than one cloud provider, more than one cloud platform in the same place. Worse, comparing the private and public cloud budgets is very difficult. We must deal with tons of extra, like load balancing between the different clouds, ensure data redundancy to prevent data loss, provide a data synchronization solution for ensuring consistency and reducing data access latency. We must be careful with networking to ensure a secure connection and reliable bandwidth. Defining common identity and access management for multiple platforms is challenging. We need extra work to provide general user management for access to different cloud platforms. Monitoring is also tricky. Every cloud provider has a solution, but we must aggregate the monitoring data from different sources. Compliance with the regulations also requires continuous monitoring and governance from our side. For example, preventing sensitive data from going where it shouldn't be is difficult. Why are these benefits so challenging to achieve? Cloud providers give different solutions to support multi-cloud or hybrid cloud infrastructure. There is no standard solution for that. We probably need custom solutions, development, and fine-tuning to achieve our goal. Third-party, better said, cloud provider agnostic solutions are not always mature or mature enough. That's why we must rely on custom solutions or the tools and services one cloud provider gives us for the desired setup. Overall, it isn't easy to use cloud providers' real benefits because if we want to stay portable, we have to avoid proprietary services. For example, we can't use provider-specific databases, messaging services, etc. This usually leads us to use only infrastructure as a service solutions like virtual machines, because virtual machines are easy to port. However, what if we don't want to give up the real benefits? I think the main cloud benefits is offloading our operational and management tasks to the cloud provider as much as possible. For this, we can use platform, database, or serverless services. These give us the required superpowers. As a developer, I don't want to deal with infrastructure. I want to write my business logic and deliver it as fast as possible. To achieve this, serverless technologies are here to save us. We had a previous meetup about serverless. If the topic is new, I recommend that you watch the recording. As a quick reminder, here is a definition from IBM, I guess. Serverless is a cloud computing application development and execution model that enables developers to build and run application code without provisioning or managing servers or backend infrastructure. And the most important one, serverless lets developers put all their focus into writing the best front-end application code and business logic they can. This is my favorite wording. The obvious advantages of serverless: it adapts to the load easily. so it shines in case of spiky workloads. We only pay for what we use, so we don't have to pay for a running virtual machine that does nothing, just for the actual work done. And my favorite, it allows us to focus much more on the business side of development. We can avoid dealing with much additional development because the serverless ecosystem provides out-of-the-box solutions for scaling, monitoring, tracing, etc. This way, we can evolve our product much faster and reduce the time to market. But here is a huge but. Making a product designed for a serverless tech is extremely hard to port to a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud environment. The previously mentioned general difficulties are applied here as well, but in addition, serverless services are proprietary, so their portability is heavily limited. Hybrid cloud design is almost impossible because serverless is meant to work in the public cloud, so few options exist to deploy a serverless function on premises. This means we also can't extend a serverless service into multiple clouds. The most feasible solution is switching between similar serverless services. Let's say we use AWS Lambda on Amazon, then we can change to Azure Functions on Microsoft Azure. Of course, some providers are more generous with portability support. For example, Azure Functions have broader support for running them outside Azure. Okay, but how can we solve our issues? The general developer solution is abstraction, of course. Let's look at this example. We have a cloud function that receives events from a message queue. This message queue could be an AWS SQS or an Azure Service Bus. The computing unit, the serverless function, could be an AWS Lambda or an Azure function. This function wants to communicate a NoSQL database. This database could be an AWS DynamoDB or an Azure Cosmos DB. So the solution is pretty straightforward. We need a general input for our serverless function, while the events coming from SQS or the service bus can differ. We need a compatibility middleware to convert the events to the common format that the serverless function can accept. We need a similar solution for database access too. Here we need a common interface to communicate the database. This interface has to provide the common capabilities of the underlying implementations. So the implementations provide connectivity with the databases. We need one implementation for DynamoDB and one for Cosmos DB. This is the programmer's way. Of course, we still have other challenges to solve. To mention a few, we need general tooling for infrastructure as code. Cloud providers have different tools for this, but we need a common one. The usual choice for this is Terraform, a third-party tool capable of managing multiple cloud providers' resources. Deployment can be another issue. Different providers accept different packaging and procedures for this. We can use a general solution, Docker containers, or work out a process to build different artifacts and use different deployment processes based on the target cloud. If we work with CI/CD, we can avoid vendor lock-in if we use third-party tools, Jenkins, for example. The same is valid for monitoring as well. We need a common solution to see logs, traces, and metrics in a common place. Configuration may have the same difficulties. We need some general concept that applies to all the used cloud providers. Okay, but this is not as easy. Do we have other options? May you ask? Here is a thing called OpenFiles. This function as a service tool is similar to AWS Lambda or Azure Functions, but this is open source and can be deployed anywhere, nearly everywhere. Generally, OpenFiles lives in a Kubernetes cluster, so you can't go full serverless, but from a developer perspective, we have the same advantages. However, somebody has to suffer from the management of the Kubernetes cluster. And of course, operating a multi or hybrid cloud Kubernetes cluster could still be a pain. What else do we have? Maybe we can bet on third parties. Someone must have faced similar problems, right? More or less. There's a third-party tool called Serverless Framework. This can give exactly what we need. A general solution to building serverless functions deployable to multiple providers. As far as I see, this is mainly for AWS, but I saw Azure support for it. However, its portability is still limited. Anything else? Just give up and use Kubernetes. Don't bother with serverless. If a multi or hybrid cloud is a must-have for you, you probably should not go with serverless. Or, if you want, be aware of this approach's additional work and costs. If you instead go with Kubernetes, plain virtual machines, or infrastructure services, then you can use cloud providers, tools, and services to make your infrastructure multi or hybrid cloud ready. Each cloud provider has its solution for extending Kubernetes to on-premises or another cloud provider. You will hear more about this from Arpad in the next session. So, our conclusions here. Multi-cloud and hybrid cloud sounds good, but it's challenging. Organizations may want this setup for the wrong reasons. Regulatory compliance and legacy system integration are good reasons, but the others are questionable. It costs it costs substantial upfront investment. Nothing comes free. We need extra work for this, and it will cost a lot. The return of investment is questionable. Getting all the cloud benefits is hard if you have to stay portable. So that's why this is not for everyone, and not in all cases. But this is just my opinion. Do your research before investing in multi or hybrid cloud. And thank you for your attention. Short change.
I think if you have questions, then maybe you can ask these questions after the next presentation. And thank you very much, Zoltán, for your speech. Zoltán worked in the last few years in various cloud projects in AWS and Azure as well. And I'm very glad to see here Arpad, who is the next speaker, who has more than 20 years of professional experience as well for a large volume and large website development. In the last 6 years, he worked in AWS projects, and in the last years, worked as a solution architect for AWS, if I am correct. Yes. So thank you very much, Arpad.
Thank you for the introduction. Just a second. So, my name is Arpad Csőke. I'm a solution architect at AWS, treat us like a technical advisor. And yes, I'm working on projects on AWS in the last 6 years, and now I'm working for AWS in the last year. So, about multi-cloud, how AWS can help with multi-cloud and hybrid clouds. As customers accelerate their migration to the cloud and transform their business, some find themselves in situations which are have to manage IT operations in a hybrid or in a multi-cloud environment. For example, when when a company acquire another company where they already have a cloud infrastructure at another provider, they have to do it to manage all the different clouds. Or when they have some regulatories that they have to build an own data center on-premise to satisfy, for example, low latency requirements and also some regulatories. And these customers face with additional complexity when it comes to operating this infrastructure, their application and the infrastructure. They often have to use solutions from multiple providers to operate their applications and monitor it, monitor the health of the overall system. So it's not easy. To help the customers with these challenges, AWS has been extending its cloud services to customers, streamline, manage, and govern the hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure. With the AWS solutions for hybrid and multi-cloud, customers can centralize and simplify management and monitoring of hybrid and multi-cloud environment, automatically centralize and analyze the security data and manage identities and permissions and multiple across these environments, and analyze and get insights from all your data wherever it's stored, and deliver a consistent AWS experience on-premise and on the edge, and also run application at AWS on-premise and on other clouds with AWS container services. So this solution, AWS solution for hybrid and multi-cloud span multiple areas, including management and governance, observability, security, data and analytics, compute, and containers. Management and governance. The AWS management and governance service enables you to extend the AWS cloud operation experience to your infrastructure running on-premise and on other clouds. So you can simplify the management of your infrastructure. For example, AWS System Manager allows customers to manage, update, and patch servers, virtual machines across AWS, on-premise, and clouds, and other clouds from a single console. It helps you to manage and troubleshoot your fleet running on these three, on-premise, AWS on-premise, and other clouds, without the need to remotely connect to them. Maintain instance compliance against your patches, configuration, and custom policies. Drill down to the instances, nodes, for example, services, devices, to perform common system management such as disk and file exploration, log management, or even Windows registry operations. And quickly gain a secure shell and console-based remote protocol access to your instances from a single console. For example, Rackspace technology, it's a leading cloud solution provider, use AWS System Manager in a hybrid and multi-cloud situation. Managing all these servers and virtual machines across each platform can be tedious and time-consuming. So they need a single solution to patch and update the servers, because sometimes an update of all of these servers can take hours. So they need an automated and automated solution in this hybrid and multi-cloud environment. And Rackspace, with the help of AWS, built a solution using AWS System Manager for consolidated management and patching. And using system management, it's reduced the time, the effort, and the risk commonly associated with manual processes. And then we have AWS Config. It's a centralized configuration management and compliance reporting tool. So customer can monitor the configurations of tens of thousands of virtual machines, manage databases, storage, networking components from AWS and from other cloud providers. It can AWS config enables you to evaluate the resource configuration for potential vulnerability, or review your configuration history after a security incident, or view continuous updated details of all the configurations, attributes associated with your resources, and assess your resources for compliance against built-in or custom rules, and also automate the remediation of non-compliant resources. For example, the Deutsche Börse runs and operates financial trading markets in Germany. Previously, they have an on-premise, run all their data and all their resources on-premise, and monitored these assets and servers with a custom on-prem solution. And as they moved to multiple cloud provider, it was the tool they had used cannot handle this asset management system, cannot support the needs of the security and compliance monitoring. So Deutsche Börse Group need a solution that would give it a clear view. Using the AWS config, Deutsche Börse continually monitors and the configuration changes of resources on multiple clouds. As a result, the company has simplified its asset monitoring and improved its ability to maintain the compliance. Observability. It's a hard word. With one of my colleagues, he just said that if I cannot say observability correctly, I have to drink a shot every time. So with AWS, you can centralize the observability of your infrastructure and your application running on AWS, on-premise, and on other cloud providers. So you can gain insights into the behavior and performance and the health of your overall system. For example, Amazon CloudWatch is our observability service. You can collect, access, and correlate large volume of metrics, logs, traces, and events to a single platform from across all your resources, applications, database services running on AWS, on-premise, and cloud, other cloud providers. So CloudWatch helps you break down data silos so you can easily gain system-wide visibility. Visualize the performance data, create alarms, automate action on alarm based on alarms, either predefined threshold or with machine learning. It can alert on anomalies, for example. So you can correlate all these data to understand and resolve, for example, the root cause of a performance issue. And Amazon open source service is a interactive log analytics real-time application monitoring tool. It's an open source distributed search. OpenSearch is an open source distributed search and analytics suite. It's derived from Elasticsearch and allows you to centralize, analyze logs, metrics, and traces from application and system across AWS, on-premises, and other cloud providers. And for example, for real-time threat analysis, detection, and incident management. And if you like open source tools for monitoring, as Zoltán already mentioned, Prometheus and Grafana. Amazon Managed Service for Prometheus is a serverless Prometheus compatible service that automatically scales as your ingestion and the query needs grows, and handling millions of time series metrics from large, for example, from large container services. It provides alerts on containerized applications, infrastructure running on AWS, on-premise, and on other cloud providers. You can collect metrics from anywhere using AWS distro for open telemetry. It can using an open source exporter. It can be easily integrated with Amazon Managed Grafana for dashboard views also. And as it's a serverless and a managed service, It reduces the operational cost of configuring, upgrading, patching your own Prometheus server. And as I mentioned, we have managed Grafana also. It's a fully managed data visualization service. It's scalable, secure, and highly available. You can analyze, monitor, and alarm on metrics, logs, traces across multiple data sources, including AWS, other providers, third-party ISVs, on-premise databases, or IoT devices, edge devices. And yes, security and identity. Security is the top priority at AWS. With AWS, customer can improve the protection of their workloads and application and data across AWS and hybrid and multi-cloud environments. They can also securely manage the identities and permissions. To gain a more complete understanding of your security data across the entire organization, we have Amazon Security Lake. It's automatically centralized security data from cloud, on-premise, and custom sources into a purpose-built data lake stored in your AWS account. It makes it easier to analyze your data, your security data, you can get more complete understanding of your security across the entire organization. It normalizes data to the open cybersecurity schema framework, standard to streamline security management across multi and hybrid cloud environments. To manage your users' identities and access to in AWS, we have the IAM Identity Center. It's a successor of AWS single sign-on. It helps you securely create or connect your workforce identities and manage their access centrally across AWS accounts and applications. You can create and manage users in IAM Identity Centers built-in store, or you can use connect your existing identity store. For example, Microsoft Active Directory, Okta, Jump Cloud, Google Workspace, and so on. You can manage your workforce access to multi AWS accounts from one place, and you can provide your workforce single sign-on access to the different accounts and cloud applications. And we have IAM Role Anywhere, which offers improved security. By extending these IAM roles and permission to resources outside of the AWS cloud, it allows customers to leverage the same robust security controls and policies that are available within AWS. You can manage all your workloads that run outside of AWS to access AWS resources, create some IAM rules for users outside AWS resources, and it reduces the challenges of accessing AWS from workloads that are outside of AWS. And you have all these data in multiple cloud providers and on on-premise data centers. AWS data and analytics services enable you to gain insights from all of your data, whether it's stored on AWS, on-premise, in SaaS applications, or in other cloud databases and analytics services. For example, customers can move data between AWS on-premise file systems and other cloud storage services using AWS Data Sync. With AWS Data Sync, it's a secure online service that automates and accelerates the movement of the data between storage systems without the need to write any application, any scripts to manage a repeated transfer. You can access data across 12 storage locations, including objects and file storage, SMB, NFS, for example, and Amazon S3, and other cloud storage services, and move it. And with the data sync, you can move it to and from AWS to other cloud providers to on-premise. And with Amazon Athena, it's a serverless interactive analytics service. You can easily query and surface insights from data stored in more than 25 external data sources, including relational, non-relational databases, objects, other cloud data stores, and other analytical data stores, without copying or transforming all this data. So it's as I said, it's an interactive analytics service built on an open source framework, and it supports open table and file formats. And Athena provides a simplified, flexible way to analyze petabytes of data without moving the files, petabytes of data where it lives. And customer can make data preparation easier with AWS Glue. It's a serverless data integration service. With AWS Glue, customers can discover and connect over 80 data sources, including other cloud databases, analytics services, and manage their data in a centralized data catalog. And then visually create, run, and monitor ETL, extract, transform, and load pipelines to load the data into central data lakes. And yes, everywhere is computes, virtual machines. At AWS hybrid solution, it's enable customers to bring AWS infrastructure and services to wherever they need. So you can deliver a consistent AWS experience on-premise and edge. We have AWS local zones. It puts AWS services near large population and industry centers, so you can reach local users in milliseconds. Or AWS wavelength. It's embed AWS compute and storage services at the edge of these 5G networks. And AWS Outpost, which can be a server or even a rack, that allow you to run AWS infrastructure and services on-premise in your data center. We manage it for you, but it's in your data center. For example, for data residency, it's really important. And we have the Snow family, AWS Snow family, devices that you can collect and process data at a disconnected location. It's like a suitcase. You just deliver it with a DHL, and the customer receive it and load all the data on it and send it back to AWS, and we can copy it to your AWS account. And yes, today more and more containers are running on cloud, on-premise, and with AWS container services, you can run applications on AWS, on-premise, and other clouds. Customers can deploy and run containers application on AWS with Amazon Elastic Kubernetes services. It's a managed Kubernetes services, EKS, and Amazon Elastic Container Services, which is our own container orchestration service. And you can run your containers on-premise with Amazon EKS Anywhere and Amazon ECS Anywhere. It's the same container, and you can manage from one console all your containers. And for customers who prefer build and manage their own Kubernetes cluster, we have Amazon EKS distro, an open source distribution of Kubernetes built and maintained by AWS. And clusters built using EKS distro can be deployed anywhere, including AWS, including on-prem, and including other cloud providers. And you can unify your entire Kubernetes footprint on AWS on-premise and other clouds with the Amazon EKS console. It's a single place to see the status of your Kubernetes cluster application and associated cloud resources. The console puts the Kubernetes at customer's fingerprint and make it easy to understand all the different components and dependencies of their application and check whether they are properly deployed. And one more thing that always came up when dealing with multi and hybrid cloud is the connection between them. AWS Direct Connect is a private global interconnect connection with an availability service level agreement of 4 nines. And Direct Connect truly makes AWS an extension of the customer's corporate data center, on-prem data center, or other cloud infrastructure. It connects to your data center to your AWS account. We have different partners who can help you to establish such a connection, service providers who deliver the last mile, and special partners who can resell this direct connect. There is a dedicated connection where the customer connects directly to the AWS router, and a hosted connection where we have partners router and you are connected to partners router. Dedicated is speed up to 100 gigs and hosted is speed up to 10 gigs. And if you would like to connect the AWS cloud to other cloud providers, we have partners for it also. One of them is Megaport. They have hosted virtual routers, and with the help of it, you can connect clouds easily. And they build regional and global layer 2 connections and connects your accounts privately. So traffic never leaves your private connection and never traverses the internet. So that was my side about hybrid and multi-cloud. For additional resources, you can visit AWS, amazon.com/hybrid multi-cloud. And also, thank you for your attention. And also, you can contact me on my email address is rpatchett@amazon.de. Thank you for your attention.
Oops. Okay, thank you very much. We agreed that we will have a 5 minutes technical break just to use the washroom. And meantime, if you have any questions, then we could combine the break with the question session because we would like to be a little bit more efficient. And then after the 5 minutes break, we will introduce the panel. I will ask you to sit there if it is possible, and then we can speed up that part as well. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask, or we will have a chance to discuss anything in person as well, I believe, because you will stay here for a little bit more. So let's have it informal, okay? And then see you in 5 minutes here. Okay, thank you very much. quote, a guiding light at Deutsche Telekom IT Solutions. For insight of innovation and the cloud solutions. I hope it was a good introduction. I got it from my colleague. Okay. Okay, so now let me introduce Tashnad Banlaki with his pivotal role as Cloud Development Manager at ThyssenKrupp. I hope I pronounced it properly. I apologize. ThyssenKrupp, sorry. And former technology expert at PwC. He is at the forefront of cloud technology and application support. Tashnad is not only a seasoned manager, but also a hands-on expert who has been enhancing and automating technical processes for years. So let me welcome Tashnad as well here. And Peter Upsinger, who is leading the global Azure Cloud team at DECRA. He is your go-to for all things Azure, with a rich background in service transformation and cloud migration. He brings a vast knowledge to the table. So join him for a deep dive into Azure's universe. And last but not least, let me introduce our colleague, Sándor. I think he is also a very very knowledgeable cloud expert. He had several years of experience working with AWS in the USA. And also he had some other international experiences, I think from Switzerland and some other countries as well. So I'm glad that he accepted the role of facilitating this conversation. So let me just pass the word, and I'm looking forward to listen to your insight.
Thank you. It was better than expected. So good evening, everyone.
Technically, we have to turn on the microphone. Okay, it works.
Again, so good evening, everyone. We can start the panel discussion, and thank you for the introduction. It will take, as usual, about half an hour, and the topic is multi-cloud and hybrid cloud. And let's jump to the questions. And the first one is basically hybrid cloud strategies. So can you elaborate on what are the pros and cons when you used this cloud model, hybrid cloud? Maybe you can start with you, Arpad.
Sure, thank you very much. We at T-Systems, we believe that every customer is a snowflake. So there is no simple cloud strategy we always follow or pushing our customers to that specific direction. What we use is 6R as a methodology, when the different R's represent different actions you can take with the different workloads you have. It means that you can retain, you can repurchase, you can replatform the different workloads. And if we combine that with our portfolio at T-Systems International, which is basically covering a lot of scenarios, believe me, from on-prem, we have on our own OpenStack-based public cloud, Open Telecom Cloud, and of course we work with all the three major hyperscalers worldwide, AWS, Google, and Microsoft as well. This combination brings the customer to the level when first of all, the customer can feel, it's very special, and that kind of cloud strategy is always very, very customized. So this is how we see it. And the pros and the cons, of course, we are talking about very complex environments with a lot of different vendors. So I can just only suggest to all the customers that please bring someone in from the market. Please contact a consultant company at least, or an integrator, or upskill yourself, because adopting cloud is an interesting journey, but it's not the easiest one.
Thank you. Maybe you, Peter?
Thank you very much. I was, try to formalize what I want to say after Arpad's explanation. At DECRA, we started the cloud-first strategy 3 years ago, and the main idea was that, global DECRA, every local entity in every country, so we are talking about roughly 40 countries, need to move their on-prem application services loads into Azure in a hybrid setup. And in the beginning, we have chosen that we will not lock the situation, so like lock-in situation will not follow that, because we agreed that we will use the Terraform code. So, we can move the ISC infra as a code, even if we choose that we bring it to AWS, who gives the better stability, scalability, cost optimization, etc. And also we use like Palo Alto. So we try to be as independent as possible from one vendor, but still we're using a huge landscape of cloud everywhere. So in the APAC region, Americas, and Europe as well. So a huge subscription with several tenants, and it's a very complex system.
Thank you. So for us in ThyssenKrupp, we are currently in the early stages of multi-cloud adoption. So we're still trying to find out our best direction in there. We're currently using mostly Azure, and we planning on building our own cloud. We're not sure on the tech stack yet, but still in the early phases. But we are already planning with the new application developments and new application integrations. We're already trying to enhance the multi-cloud view, so try to be cloud agnostic by design, and these are the generic directions for us. Thank you.
So I believe that each digital transformation is triggered by some business requirements, or basically some objectives, right? So what are the key business drivers that triggered in your organization or company that you work for, and to move to this, hybrid cloud environment?
Of course, in our case, as we are a system integrator, we work with several customers, but it also means that we gained a lot of experience during the last few years about that. And from our point of view, what is key, that if the customer is having a business strategy, it has to be connected somehow to their cloud strategy. If the two things are running parallel, it usually leads to bad things or suboptimal setups or something like that. So again, if I can give any advice to anyone or any companies, I think doing cloud migration or cloud adoption just for the sake that others are doing it, or because that there is a hype around that, I think that's not the main trigger. The company needs to understand, what do I want to achieve as part of my business strategy, and how different vendors and their cloud solutions can support me on that journey. And if they have a precise answer to that, then I think it's easy. Then you have, the business driver. Then you have the goal you would like to reach, and you also have the tool in your hands. Because the interesting thing is that we keep hearing, those buzzwords since years, like agility, lean, Kanban, I don't know, CI/CD. I think we all know that innovation, we love innovation. But the thing is that these tools cloud can provide are actually helping you with this whole process. Try things, easily. Try things very fast. Fail fast. Learn from it. So actually, if you are doing cloud adoption to really bring your company to the next level, then I think you are in the right way. But again, not just doing that, not even only for cost saving or something like that. That's also part of the game. But cloud needs to make you stronger, actually, as a company, and more solid, and more agile, more flexible. And then I think everything will be fine.
Great answer.
At DECRA, we are doing the opposite, because we do not have external customers. But how the business drivers are set in the beginning is that, it was more about scalability, standardization, globalization, and moving all the on-prem data centers, applications into the cloud so that it will be a standardized, homogeneous landscape in the cloud, which can be supported from everywhere in the world. And at the end, the different legal entities don't need to spend mainly a lot of their money. Just give you an example. If you put a NAS storage in a data center, right, a small data center, you need to have security, fire extinguishing system, everything which prevents that the data gets damaged. So with this way, all our legal entities, which are our internal customers, don't have to spend on this. They will get, every month or every quarterly basis, the invoice for the different services they are purchasing. So the main driver was digitalization and transforming the whole business, the whole global IT landscape of the company.
Thank you. So for us, I think one of the main business drivers was to enhance the business agility and the technical agility, mostly for the developers. So there are a lot of product development happening at the moment. And that enables them to, as you said, try fast, fail fast. And of course, with the legal scalability is actually plays a huge part. So building a pipeline, and when the on-prem resources can't handle it, and you need to build a lot of software with high frequency a lot of times, then you need to sometimes just use the elasticity of the cloud. What else? Yeah, and of course stability. So disaster recovery and business BCP is really important, especially in a plant. So.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I just want to add one more thing, because I like, the guys, you bring also some examples. And I think examples are important, to really understand, what companies can do with that. And, I just remember that at T-Systems, we are a long-time supporter of the German automotive sector for, I don't know, since years. And I remember that they were not so interested in cloud for a while, because that for us seems to be a pretty conservative, business area or industry. Then Tesla came in the picture. And they started to be afraid of Tesla, I don't know, 8 years ago already. And that was the time, that was their main trigger. And they wanted to do, and at that time, it wasn't even just public cloud. They just wanted to do something else. At that time, 8 years ago, they found that there are some containers, there are automated CI/CD pipelines and toolset and frameworks, and they started to use that. And they improved a lot in 3 years, with their software in their cars and things like that. So I think there are some great examples, for that kind of, cloud adoption thing. You just need to find them. And if we find anything, what you guys mentioned, I think I'm always happy if I see those kind of examples. Thanks.
Yeah, something came into my mind when you started this. So, DECRA is coming from the TIC industry, which is the automotive industry. We are doing vehicle inspection mainly. And I was thinking that not just the automotive industry, also the heavy industry is also affected. IoT is like, okay, just imagine industrial cranes, which are monitored, and all the health of the crane is checked. Safety, right? And this is through the cloud, right? Through Wi-Fi, through connections. Or give you an example, there are chemical barrels in chemical factories, which need to be investigated from the inside. And what's the most important thing? That the humans are not going into the heavily contained barrel inside. They send in like a drone, which goes around and checks whether there are any scratches or something inside. So this stuff is also going on into the cloud, and more such ideas with the help of the cloud plus IoT, everything which is robots, And I'm now talking about the future. And it's very important because more and more automation will happen, and all of these will be in the cloud, whether we are talking about the 3 US hyperscalers or the smaller ones in Europe. So this is the direction I see.
Thank you. And we heard a few times the vendor locking from Zoltan and from Arpad as well. And so basically when we are choosing a public cloud, then we have a kind of vendor lock, right? So when we are starting to use their product, for example, software as a service or platform as a service, just to have some cost or latency improvements. Also, if you are talking about the IoT, some public cloud providers bring some IoT solutions. So the question is, can we avoid the vendor locking? So should we concern about the vendor lock? What is the price and what we're sacrificing if you are trying to avoid the vendor lock?
Is there. Even as an integrator, we see that as a partner. You know, if you start to work with all these big companies, these companies sometimes, you know, bigger than your own company in many cases. They are talking about, you know, the biggest companies in the world, apparently. And through the incentives, through their programs, you know, they are pushing you in a very specific direction. If you want to work with Microsoft or Amazon, Google, it's all the same at the end. And you will eventually find yourself, you know, surrounded by different silos, you know, if you want to adopt that. So I think the risk is definitely there. And the risk is that the more you are digging into those services, you know, and connecting yourself to those, it's a typical vendor locking scenario, the more you will be depending, you know, on those vendors. We have some solutions actually where we try to overcome of this kind of situation. For example, we have a special SLA monitoring solution where we are able to track the outages of the different, you know, these hyperscalers worldwide for all the 3. And this kind of data can be interesting for your audits or, you know, for example, if you would like to get some money back from them, or there are different scenarios. And those data actually is available, but it's not fully visible to you in many cases. It's hidden in the portal somewhere. So I think it's always good to find, you know, some solutions how you can overcome, you know, that complete fully vendor locking, because from other perspective, of course, if you would like to work with 2 or 3 of them, that's also brings some benefits, but again, the risk is there. So you always need to, again, my suggestion would be that either you upskill your own architecture team basically locally at your company, you know, and be experts on the different possibilities, which is very time consuming, or yeah, team up with a partner, team up with a provider, and try to solve these things together with them, and you will find some.
Vendor lock-in. In the beginning, I said that the reason why we have chosen Terraform and then Palo Alto is to try to minimize the possibility of this, well, not situation, but state. But still, yeah, we can talk pros and cons. If you are, you know, contracted with one provider, obviously you get better prices because you can see that the whole cloud plane will be bought from you. So, you know, let me give me, I don't know, like I live here like 200 million euros and I need proper discount, right? That can also be a state of negotiation. So, and you know, that's the pro side, and the con side is that you are stuck there, obviously. But if you're using several US hyperscalers, that means that your cost can really grow because you cannot get that big discount. So it depends on which leg of yours you shoot, like, you know, like which one do you choose? You want to pay more and you get the freedom, or you sacrifice your freedom but you pay less? That's something that every company needs to decide by their own.
I usually describe it as a cloud embracement. So when you actually in the connection with one cloud supplier and you just embrace it all. So you try to use every service every aspect of that service that provides to its full potential. So you actually get what you paid for. So it's not necessarily bad to be in a vendor lock-in, but if you want to try to keep your options open, yeah, then you have to make sure that you have a little space between you and the vendor, if possible. And of course, it's always there's a new service introduced that will try to hook you. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We always designed our application that you can move from one database into another database, and I never had one project that wanted to move from Oracle, for example, into another database. So, but anyway, the design was there. Regarding the monitoring and observability, so year by year, the IT is evolving. New technologies are arriving. And it really gives us hard time to make sure that we keep up the speed. So we have good support. We can monitor and observe. So can you share your experience regarding what can be used in order to have good visibility on this hybrid infrastructure? What did you use? You want to go first?
Yeah, so I had several years in support, so for us monitoring and visibility was everything. The landscape is always really, really big because whenever one application or one system is introduced, it comes with dedicated monitoring, and eventually they try to integrate one to that one and the other one to the first one. So it's actually eventually what you're probably looking for is something to integrate it all. So find the most versatile solutions that you can think of. That would be my advice for that. But it's really hard. So, for example, for security, they usually use Splunk. For infrastructure using ALK or Prometheus, so it's really hard to choose a good one.
Security monitoring, right? We don't use, how should I say, we mainly use solutions provided by Azure, so Microsoft Defender, endpoints, cloud, and everything else. And also the role-based control, zero trust policy, and the least privileges rights, and we are trying to stick to that. And I can tell you it's not easy. So, because if you're talking, like a company of like 50 people, that's easy. But if you talk a company with like 55 or more employees, with several landscapes in different countries and like thousands of applications, it's very hard to follow up. So, our monitoring is huge, and we have a different department for that. So, like monitoring agents on every resource, or different security groups in different regions, who can have contributor rights. We only, we cannot have more than, how much is it? I think it's 6 or 8 global admin roles, right? So, in this scale, you have to think in very, very details. And it's a huge work, at least for us. So it's very complicated. We need very good professional knowledge to be able to maintain everything and alignment between the departments very closely.
We use cloud-native solutions whenever we can, extended by some special solutions like I mentioned, SLA monitoring, where we can monitor special areas dedicatedly. Actually, I'm a bit more positive than the two guys next to me, because I think that here AI, cognitive services, large language models will support us much more in the next 2 years. So I think a lot of things what we think about security and monitoring will drastically change. So all these first level type of themes, I guess maybe we won't need that many of them, and maybe some of these services could be replaced by more AI-driven solutions. And of course, this trend will just speeding up, with quantum, which is coming, at the end of the current decade with the first tangible use cases. So I think that area will change drastically, not just driven by ChatGPT and others, but all the special tools we use at the moment.
Just one thing with regards to quantum, because you mentioned quantum, right? So IBM, Google, right? They are developing their quantum computers. Just one thing I need to put down on the table. If they create one really good one, then all of the current security measures and all the security standards, you can throw it into the trash. Because just simply, even 128-bit coding will be like 5 seconds. So that's the big problem, and that will be a huge challenge. And I'm not sure about the blockchain technology as well. It's Web 3.0, it's far away, but it's still in reach. So in like 8-10 years, I guess, something like that.
Just to reflect on this, I a bit disagree, because I think if the quantum is happening eventually, it will only pose a threat after it becomes commercial. So when there are like 10 people can reach it, it's hopefully not gonna cause any trouble. But regarding the information and monitoring, so it's really, for me, it's really important to emphasize that it doesn't matter how many data you have if you don't know where to look, and AI is going to help that, hopefully.
I agree with you, and one thing is pretty sure that the first area which will benefit from quantum will be the army, right? So so it doesn't matter.
You're not sure how are we with time. I believe that we should have time for one last question, or who is tracking the time. I have some more questions, so it's not an issue. We already started the conversation around SuperCloud. You mentioned cloud diagnostics, and we heard MetaCloud or distributed cloud. So there are a few buzzwords arising, and they want to solve the complexity that the multi-cloud introduced. So how are you solving those complexities on your for your business, for your companies? And what about the SuperCloud? Is the next concept, the next evaluation of the IT?
Let's go step by step. So we made the decision at T-Systems that we would like to merge or different units supporting the different hyperscalers. That's already a big move. So we are about, to harmonize our different portfolios, how we do managed Azure, managed AWS, etc. Plus, at the same time, we always had and we'll always have cloud agnostic solutions. For example, the way we provide SAP is the same everywhere, basically. So it is a pretty much cloud agnostic solution. SuperCloud, so the real next step, I'm not so sure. And not really because of the distributed capacities, because we are already can move workloads from here and there, even with the supports of hyperscalers. Just think about Azure Arc, Anthos, a lot of other things we can do. I think the problem is still the data. How do you move, and what is the price, to moving data between the different hyperscalers? If you're talking about, terabytes or petabytes, of course, if you are really running, an application, and I don't know if you're coming from the banking sector and you need, 10,000 more processor power just for 2 days or something like that, and you just only want to use that kind of distributed, processing power, that could be maybe a solution. But for most of the companies, it's all about data, and moving that data, I think, is still very problematic. So I'm a bit skeptic, but let's see. The complexity is definitely there, and the sad thing is that even with those wonderful solutions like Azure Arc, all the different hyperscalers have similar solutions. So all of them are able to manage the other 2 or 3 or 4. So even their multi-cloud management, solution is locking you to them. So I would be very careful with saying anything about SuperCloud at the moment, but we believe in a combined solution. So using the native capabilities combined with some cloud agnostic solutions, for example, like you also do.
SuperCloud, yes. I would say it's all about maturity. So on what maturity level a given company is. Because you have to reach a given maturity, which means that what do you have in cloud? And obviously you cannot go full cloud because depending on your business, depending on what data you are dealing with, compliance is a huge issue. It can be that the data cannot leave a given country's borders, right? So that means that the US hyperscalers already falling out, right? It doesn't matter, Amazon, Azure, Google, all have all the certifications, 99% what you have in the whole world for the given regions, for banking, for finance, for automotive industry. But still, there can be regulatory laws within the given company which are affecting data which the given company collects. And then, the company will not have other option, just stay in the country, use a local cloud provider or a local data center. Because this is how they can ensure. And in that regard, you will never go full cloud because you have to have reachability to the data.
Not sure what are we considering SuperCloud at the moment, but I'm guessing merging all the cloud suppliers and with your own private cloud maybe. But for me, it will be a slow process for a company. Usually it's a slow process because usually you get in bed with one major supplier and you try to use what you can use. And when you find it too expensive, you try to gradually look for other solutions. And so I think it's a slow transition from using one cloud solution to get the pieces from different ones. And eventually there will be some equilibrium where you don't search for any new solutions, but then you got the goal to, okay, I need to do budget cuts again, so I need to find cheaper ones again. So I think, yeah, it's like an organic process to use SuperCloud.
It's a buzzword. Yeah. Just imagine, when will we reach SuperCloud? In my head, it means that there is one huge cloud and everybody connects to it from every country, right? India, Israel, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Brazil, everyone, every region. Can you imagine that? Can any one of you imagine that? Seriously, hands up. No one. You see? So that's the problem. Currently, the maturity is not enough. So the services are really good, but the services every company is unique. Every company has unique setups, applications. Some companies have self-developed applications, like developed in a language like COBOL. To give you, it's very, very old. If you don't know, if you're too young, you know what I'm talking about. Originally, I'm a programmer. So, and these applications, if the business is running on such a coding language, how can you move that into cloud? You have to rewrite the whole application. What happens? So it's very complex and very, very unique of how you assess the situation. So that's why it's so hard to talk about SuperCloud, because that would mean that every application can go up to cloud. And every cloud is connected everywhere. It's like a synergic something all around the globe.
Yeah, thank you. I believe that still we can go with one question, if you don't mind. So we have our good design. So we are trying to move to the or try to implement a hybrid cloud, and now we need some tools. We need to automate infra as a code, config as a code, DevOps. What tools did you use in your projects? What are those? If you can mention a few solutions. Who wants to go first? Tosnák.
I can. So for building CI/CD pipelines, there are custom solutions that has already been built within the company, and we use Azure DevOps. We are started using GitLab as well as a major DevOps tool. For EAAC, we are experimenting with Terraform. Me personally, I'm trying out Tofu to see how the fork went. Yeah, for configuration, we use Ansible. Yeah, I think that these are the most used ones.
Yeah, actually, we also more likely using this DevOps, CI/CD pipelines, Azure DevOps, GitHub. I'm just thinking what else, mainly because our main direction is this Terraform. We write in a Terraform code, we put that together, and with a press of a button, we roll that out. Obviously, okay, I can talk about it. We work with ServiceNow, right? ServiceNow agent on the resource goes into CI/CD, just to go a bit deeper technically, and then whoever sends a service request, we have blueprints. One click, and then the blueprint will load, and you have the code is written there already, and it's deployed in like half an hour, less, 5 minutes. So in that way, you can automate, you can make things faster, but as I said, not everything is black and white. We have shades of gray, 50 or more. Okay, shades of orange. You can just try to forget what I said.
Two gentlemen have mentioned actually all the tools, basically everything. We are also using this, and again, there is always a pro and cons with these. So when we started to build up our managed services on top of Google, AWS, Azure, just to mention these 3, but of course there are many more, cloud solutions we have. Of course, it was faster that each and every team started to use their own, preferred solutions because, I don't know, coming from experience or just preferred some kind of new technology. And now we are obviously thinking about that maybe we should also harmonize that layer. But of course, if you want to have a well-designed setup from the beginning, that can slow you down drastically. Your go-to-market, capability will go down like this. So I prefer the startup method here, actually. That let the teams, start to use their own favorite tool sets. Maybe with thinking of if the integration through APIs is possible afterwards, I think that's easier, especially if you can define, the way, how would you like to integrate your tool sets at the end. It's good. And maybe after a few years, if you think about that, maybe I need to, I don't know, replace a few things there, maybe do some harmonization. Let's do that. But the thing is that if you are looking at any kind of hype cycle or the cycle of innovation, at the beginning, if you really want to come up with new things, you will always want to use, the latest technologies, the cutting edge. And then if you are moving, from left to right, from innovation to commodity, of course, you will also want to, be more and more standardized. But that's, again, a journey. And it's impossible, of course, for a bank or I don't know, slowly working, big companies, it's good to have, I don't know, they use TOGAF and they have the full circle, and of course they integrate always everything with everything, but that's also making them very slow. So you always need to balance between, your flexibility, agility, and your standardization needs. And this is what we all do with the tool sets as well, as far as I can see.
Just one more. Is because of the AI, let's just call it hype, with ChatGPT and Bard and stuff, a lot of companies think AI is a magic word. So now it is really crucial how you can deliver AI solutions. So, for example, in Azure, there are like Azure AI Studio, I think. No. In Azure, we have Azure. Azure Machine Learning Studio, for example, where you can orchestrate the whole pipeline, the actual teaching of the model, and the incremental teaching, the deployment to the endpoints, if you want to use like standard machine learning. So this is one of the tools I've been experimenting at the moment, so maybe we can use it in the future.
Be careful with AI ethics. But that's not part of this discussion, right?
Only work with model.
But actually, I agree with you on that AI stuff. So I think AI will help us a lot here as well. Because at the moment, as I see sometimes, it's not possible to manage the amount and the level and the size of the technical depth we have, just around us. And maybe AI can really help, to sort this mess out. And this is what I also secretly, believe. And actually, it's already here, Azure Copilot. We have hundreds of software developers already using Copilot, maybe. And not just, to check what they do, but also they are checking what they get back from, Azure Cognitive Services already as a code. So I think we started somewhere. If we can help, if we can use the help of AI to integrate all the different tools we have, maybe, again, it would be, I think, a big next step for the IT industry as well.
Okay, so thank you all for the great answers. This is a huge topic, and maybe we can come back in a few weeks.
Thank you very much. I think it's time for questions. If you have any questions, maybe you can ask the speakers as well, but the panel mainly. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask, what is the most common driver that push different business or companies to go for a cloud? This is the first question. Like, you worked with different solutions, different, use cases. What was the most common benefit that people go for cloud or push people to go to use cloud? This is the first question. The other question is, we have different cloud service providers, and all of them, I think or believe, they can provide same competitive, let's say, functionalities or services. And is it true to say that only the cost is what pushed me to choose this service provider than the other service provider? Yeah, thanks.
I can start with the second one. I can start with the second question. So not just cost. For example, compliance is really, a lot of the companies, compliance is really important. For example, you cannot keep a certain type of data in a certain type of location. So where is the data warehouse located, where you can host that data actually? That's one. Or you can also check the serviceability for different services provided. For example, one is for 4 nines, one is for 5 nines, and maybe you have a requirement that defines that for my application, I need 5 nines, so that's why I'm choosing that.
I was thinking which one is first, cost or flexibility and security and compliance. Um, I think both of them are very important because, if, let's talk about again huge companies, okay? So not one company in one country. Let's talk about a company which has like around the globe. Then that means that most of the entities in the given country, they are either spending their own budget on IT, or they are going for digital transformation, and they are going for globalization, standardization. So in that case, their spending is cut. They don't have to take care about the DCs. They don't have to take care about the stuff, the compliance. No auditors go there to check whether all the data is safe. Everything is in the cloud, and it's scalable, stable, transparent, security-wise as well. Just think about with DDoS attack. So it's Azure, and I think Amazon as well has that it scales up. It doesn't matter how much traffic is directed to one website, it will scale up. And no hacker can actually compete with the whole web of computing power. So yeah, transparency, stability, scalability, and I think cost as well, because it's capitalism and everybody is driven by EBITs, at the end of the year. So they have to save money somehow.
I would like to answer your first question then. Okay, so what is the main trigger? 5 years ago, companies started to use it like now they are trying to do something with quantum. So you really just try it out. It was a hot stuff, 5 or 10 years ago, and they tried to move some test systems there, establish some playgrounds. Then cost was also a main trigger, so they tried to optimize, their spendings. Nowadays, especially since COVID, actually a lot of things have changed. The mass migration started everywhere. So now, cloud strategy, in most of the cases for big companies, is integrated part of their business and IT strategy, basically. And maybe in most of the cases, at least I hope so, that they would like to have a more modern and more flexible IT. Because, COVID, taught them that they had to react very fast. And they don't want to be in the same, shoe again. So next time, they want to be more prepared. And with cloud, it's simpler. But as you mentioned, of course, not everything will move to cloud, most probably. So they also try to keep some balance there. But the cloud spendings, I guess, will still increase over the next few years.
Thank you very much for the great question and the great answer.
Just one thing, and don't forget that more companies move to the cloud. It doesn't matter which one. It will get cheaper, demand based on the demand structure. So more and more company, they will demand less. So the prices will go down after a while.
Yeah, if I can add something from upscale point of view, based on our own experience, I think adding to the cost, compliance, and security, what you mentioned, we also leverage lots of functions, especially in the serverless applications, which we can use from business point of view, which is very important for our clients. So sorry for just, if I can add this. Any question, next question? Any next question? If you want to take 2 minutes just to think about this, I'm asking everyone to hold your smartphone, and because we would like to have a test, just a quick test, you can do it also, if you don't mind, until the next question is coming. So if someone wants to stop it, then just ask a question. But if you target the QR code at the bottom of this visual board, then you can find, I think, the next meetup and the survey as well, right? No? Just a survey. Sorry? A feedback form. Okay, just target it. Don't fill it out now, just to have it in your hand. And at the end of the session, I'm asking everyone to fill it out. And the next question is, and everyone is busy now. It looks like, Last time we had 2 visual boards, but there was a problem with one of them, so feel free to get closer. Okay, we have a question now.
So my question is that some of you mentioned that there are differences between the providers, cloud providers, in case of the data sensitiveness. So it means that, for example, AWS provide a server in the European Union, but the Azure doesn't, or what does it mean there are differences between the sensitive data using the sensitive data?
I didn't fully get the question, okay, but it was about data sovereignty, some kind of sovereign topics where...
No, sensitive. Data
So
sensitivity.
Well, I think the good thing is that things are changing here. Almost, yeah, I think all major cloud providers from the US now having solutions in Europe, you know, where you can either, you know, so either they established special data centers for that, you know, to solve that kind of issue. Azure is having solutions for that. We just teamed up with Google. So we use basically T-Systems International is running Google Cloud in at least two data centers in Germany, where basically it is written down that the data will never go out. You know, it will be always operated by citizens of Germany, things like that. AWS is having similar solutions. We also have like Azure Stack or, you know, Outpost type of solutions, you know, from all the vendors. So I don't think that while data sovereignty sensitivity is a very big topic for Europe, I get it. It is also a geostrategic thing for the EU, and that's an old 5 years old topic because of the martial law of the US. And the thing is that in Europe we don't have a strong cloud provider still. So the strongest cloud provider is still coming from Asia, you know, the APAC region or from the US. But I think now sensitivity and sovereignty won't be an issue in the next 2 or 3 years. I think it will be solved. This problem will just simply go away because US cloud providers and the Asian ones would also like to provide, you know, solutions for that issue locally. Just think about Open Telecom Cloud of you know, of T-Systems, where we teamed up with a Chinese company called Huawei, but we are hosting it exclusively in Europe by EU citizens. So I think the market is now better prepared for such issues like it was 5 years ago.
I hope you have a microphone, because I want to ask back. Which data? What kind of data are you referring to?
Don't have an idea for that, but any kind of sensitive data regarding to GDPR, for example.
Okay, you know, because we can have differentiation between the medical data, which is the personal identification information, right? That has also several compliance requirements. One of them is the HIPAA, which you have to fulfill that if you are working in medical industries. Then, you know, we have the GDPR data as well, which is also very strict. And that's why different levels of data. So the sensitivity depends on what type of data we are talking about. Usually most of them are highly controlled by several certifications.
Sorry, just one thing I wanted to add, because actually that's a valid comment. And thank God we have now solutions for industry-specific use cases as well, like health, for example, or banking sector. So there is a different dimension or layer we can put of that. So it's not just about, you know, the geolocation anymore, but also, of course, certain industries will have their extra needs, like, you know, health, for example, healthcare. So, you know, I think, you know, these vendors are trying to be more and more adaptive and flexible.
For example, in the car industry, there is a compliance called TISAX, which is really, really important. And I think Microsoft provides TSAX proof databases or something like that, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and not just TSAX, as I said, around.
Don't start. Don't start. Yeah, hundreds of these standards.
Sorry, you have to know that me and Arpad, we worked together earlier, and I was working for Open Telecom Cloud as the head of audit and compliance team. So I did audits for more than 2.5 years. So that's something which is very important for me as well. Data, compliance data, right? I think you all know, because you're from the industry, that currently data, since 2 years now, is the new gold, right? In the world. Data is more valuable than gold right now. And about AI, quantum, if you put this together, which is the most important thing? How secure is your data on the web? Do you think that you know, or everybody know himself very well? No, you can ask Facebook. You can download your data, and he knows more than you yourself. And that's the problem. And that's why I was asking back, which data are you talking about? Because sensitivity is a huge importance. I could also bring in Cambridge Analytica, Brexit, whatever. If you have read that, you know what I'm talking about. How can you influence people? So data is very important.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, then I might. Okay, there is one more. Sorry.
Thank you very much. What are the most demanded cloud roles currently for companies?
Great question.
I wouldn't say so. We need to make the differentiation between cloud roles and cloud-related roles. So there are a lot of software development roles or software engineers. They actually prefer if you have worked with cloud resources and you are familiar with the cloud environment. If you want to work on a cloud platform or specifically enhance a cloud environment, then it's a different role. I would say the most requested roles are the Meteor ones. So where you already know what you're doing, you don't mess up that much, and you actually already have some value to the company.
Let me try to approach this question from a different angle, sorry. Engineer or architect, right? These are the two things what you need to differentiate. Architect builds, designs, right? Engineer performs the job itself, right? And within that you have different levels, junior, mid-or senior. And also you have, depending on data. That can also be, it depends on the whole setup of the given team, right? Because if it tailors data engineers as well, working together with cloud or cloud network team members, they are between network and cloud. So that's also important to know. As I'm always asking back that the answer can be very differentiated. But simply, yeah, cloud architects and engineers.
In my previous role, because at the moment I work in a global role, I had to build up a fairly big public cloud team, more than 300 people. AWS, Azure, Google, and a lot of colleagues, OpenStack because of the Open Telecom Cloud. And that's keep changing, I think. What is the hot stuff here? Hands-on, I guess it's still king. And for SST systems, deep architectural engineering knowledge, so getting the highest level, certificate with AWS, so with some of the big ones definitely helps. But if you can combine it with some kind of customer-facing capability, where you can actually express things to the customers, supporting them on that cloud journey we have mentioned a few times already, I think that can be really a deadly combination on the market today. So customer facing with technical skills, I think it's always good.
sorry, let me add to this because I forgot to mention something. AWS has two specific certifications if you are a big partner. And thank you T-Systems for allowing me that. They have AWS Technical Professional and Business Professional. These are both our consulting roles, right? One of them is technical, the other one is business related, more likely coming from the direction of what services they can sell, right? Again, capitalism, you know. But leveling, it's architect and engineering, detailing more and more not these services, tools you can use, Jenkins, Grafana, you know, like that you have experience in those. Because the more you know, obviously, the bigger picture you have in your head, that means at the end that more things you can be used. I mean, you know, you can bring new ideas because more dots are being connected in your brain based on the knowledge. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, let me have the last question and then we can continue in the corridor. Then most of our clients are in the cloud migration process, and you are quite advanced because you have positions within the organizations like head of cloud and things like that. So my question is that how large is your team, I mean the cloud-related development within the technology in your organization? How much do you rely on insourcing, outsourcing? If you can, it tells me a lot about your progress.
If you're talking about the Hungarian entity, I think we have at least 500 colleagues, you know, doing something around cloud, from Scrum Master and maybe, I don't know, on top maybe 100 additional software developers with some tangible cloud experience. So talking about 600. Those 600 colleagues are basically supporting T-Systems International global business. So we don't do much in Hungary. So this is the reason why we have that many people, I believe. And it is just the local Hungarian entity. So if you're talking about Deutsche Telekom, for example, or T-Systems International, we talk about thousands easily. And we own thousands of certificates. So that's because of the size. We just passed the Azure Expert Managed Service Provider recertification with my team for T-Systems a few weeks ago. So and of course you have a lot of prerequisites you need to fill. Have hundreds of you need to have a certain number of people having those kind of certificates. So that's also a big topic for us. I think that's a journey. It doesn't really matter, how many people you have with some kind of cloud experience, because it's heavily depending on the size of the company we talk about.
Yeah, I can fully relate what Arpad said. It's always depending the workload, right? You have to scale up your team. You cannot support like, I don't know, 200 customers with 5 people, obviously.
Of course you have. Of course you can. If you have a fully automated, framework.
Yeah. Of course. Actually, depends on what you can do, but just thinking, calculating how much we are working.
Yeah, within the technology. So that was my question. So you can answer me in percentage as well, just to understand the role and the importance of the cloud initiative. So how much legacy things do you have and things like that. That was behind my question. Just a rough estimation.
No, I'm thinking because now it's different because we have IaaS and PaaS. We provide that infra-wise, but the application people are also cloud engineers and developers, right? But they are not belong. So I should say, overall speaking, around 200 something, 250, in different different departments of the internal sections. Software development, application development, whatsoever, and we work together.
So my direct team is around 10 people, but we have a shared focus with data centralization and cloud platform building. But we are really close to the topic. We have an infrastructure as a code team, which is a bit independent and have a different focus. And we have a couple of application development teams who have now have the requirement or the directive to stay close to cloud and try to be cloud agnostic, cloud native application development teams. I would say around 100 people, maybe.
Yeah, I sorry, I didn't mention, I wanted to, just forgot it. So my team is 22 people, which are only the cloud, the global cloud team.
Thank you very much, Dan, for coming, and I think we can clap a little bit for Dan. And thank you again for coming, and everyone, thank you again for coming, and for the people who are in the stream as well. And then I think we can stay here a little bit more for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, if you decide to have short conversations. Thank you very much.